Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to watch an idea get built basically from scratch. It all starts with this one wild sentence dropped in a chat room full of experts. And what happens next is it's a fascinating look at how a totally futuristic concept gets hammered into a workable blueprint, one brilliant, argumentative piece at a time. So here it is. This is the spark. 300 IQ AI agents that makes companies. I mean, it is bold, it's audacious, and it sounds like pure science fiction, right? In almost any other room, this would get laughed out instantly. But you gotta understand, this wasn't just any room. It was packed with crypto and tokenomics experts who didn't hear crazy, they heard a challenge.
And that right there brings up the central question of this entire explainer. Is this just some crazy dream, a flight of fancy? Or are we actually looking at a real glimpse into the future of how business gets done? A future where entire companies can be spun up by an algorithm.
Now, here's the fascinating part. Instead of just dismissing it, the experts in the room did something incredible. They immediately started treating it like a serious engineering problem. They didn't even question the what. They started drilling down into the how. So the first reactions weren't ridicule, not at all. It was this barrage of really practical questions. Okay, but how would these agents even work? Where do NFTs fit into all this? How do you keep it fair for everybody? What about the regulators, huh? And maybe the biggest question of them all, how in the world do you keep a system this powerful from spiraling completely out of control? And this is the moment the idea starts its journey from fantasy to something functional. That last question, the one about control, that's the most critical one. Look, an autonomous AI that can build companies is an unbelievable tool, but an unchecked one, that's a potential catastrophe just waiting to happen. So the first problem they had to solve wasn't about code, it was about trust. And this right here is a key insight from one of the experts in the chat. They basically said the number one priority isn't speed, it's not raw power, it's stability. If you expect people to invest their trust and their money, they have to know the system isn't going to go rogue. This single point, just focusing on stability, changed everything. So what's the solution? Well, you don't make the AI a dictator. You give it a board of directors. The core idea that emerged was to create a governance model where the humans, the people holding the tokens, could actually vote on the AI's big decisions. This brings in oversight, it brings in accountability, and it turns that potential for chaos into managed, predictable growth. Okay, so the AI is stable and it's governed. Great. But a stable system that doesn't actually do anything is, well, it's useless. So the next big challenge was building its economic engine. How does this thing actually create value for the people who own it? The next breakthrough came when one of the experts suggested using NFTs for something more than just, digital art. What if NFTs were used to represent ownership? Like digital stock certificates for every single new company the AI creates. This was a total game changer. It gives token holders a direct stake in the AI's success. But just like every other solution so far, it immediately brought up a new, really difficult question. I mean, think about it. Most startups fail. That's just a fact. They're incredibly risky. So if the value of your entire ecosystem is tied to these brand new, super volatile AI-generated companies, the whole system is basically built on a house of cards. You have to find a way to separate that high-risk gamble from the stable day-to-day operation of the system. And the solution to this volatility problem is, honestly, it's really elegant. A dual token system. They essentially split the company's finances in two. First, you've got the governance token. Think of this like company stock. It's for ownership, it's for voting, and it has that high-risk, high-growth potential. Then you have the stable token. This is like the company's cash. It's used for all the day-to-day transactions, for paying out dividends, and it's designed to hold its value. It's a brilliant move that separates the risky speculation from the stable utility. And from there, the experts just kept refining the engine. They proposed a bonding curve for the governance token, which is this really clever mechanism that automatically makes the token more expensive as more people buy in, so it directly rewards the earliest believers. And for the stable token, they suggested making it asset-backed. That means its value would be collateralized by real profits from the AI's successful companies. So it's not just a promise of value, it's backed by a real growing treasury. So at this point, the system is powerful, it's stable, and it has this sophisticated economic engine. But this creates a new, really critical risk: the concentration of power. What's to stop a billionaire from just coming in and buying up total control? This is the classic whale problem that you see all over the crypto world, right? What's to stop one massively wealthy person or group from just buying up a majority of the governance tokens? If they did that, they could just force the AI to act only for their own benefit, and that would completely destroy this whole decentralized dream. The system absolutely needed a defense mechanism against concentrated power. So the solution that was proposed to solve this whale problem is this fascinating concept called quadratic voting. It's a system designed specifically to amplify the voice of the crowd over the power of one wealthy person, and it works based on a really simple but powerful idea. Okay, so here's how it protects the system. Your first vote on any proposal, it costs 1 credit. Simple enough. But let's say you want to increase your influence and vote a second time on that same issue. Well, that's going to cost you 2 more credits. A third vote, that costs 3 more. So to get 3 times the voting power, you've actually spent 6 times the cost. It becomes exponentially more expensive for a single whale to try and dominate a vote, which means the broad agreement of many small holders can easily overpower the deep pockets of just one. And they didn't even stop there. The group layered on even more safeguards for fairness. First, things like time locks, which basically require you to commit for the long term to get full voting rights. No short-term speculators can come in and hijack the votes. Second, reputation systems, which would give more influence to people who have a proven track record of making valuable contributions. And finally, liquid democracy, which is this really flexible system where you can delegate your vote to a community expert that you trust. Each one is just another tool to make sure power stays balanced and decentralized. So let's just step back for a second and look at what was actually built here. I mean, we started with a single, kind of wild sentence. And now we have a comprehensive, multi-layered blueprint for an entirely new kind of organization. The evolution was really just a chain of problem solving. The initial spark created this need for a stable foundation, which they solved with human governance. That foundation needed an economic engine to power it, which led to the dual token and NFT system. That powerful engine then needed a democratic balance, which they solved with quadratic voting. And the final result of all this is a complete blueprint for what's known in the crypto world as a DAO, a decentralized autonomous organization. And maybe the most important takeaway from all of this is that the final design wasn't the product of some single visionary genius. It was built layer by layer through the power of community intelligence, with each expert adding a new piece to solve a problem that was posed by another. It's pretty amazing. And this leaves us with a final and pretty profound question. This whole thing was just a theoretical brainstorming session, but the blueprint they created, it feels plausible, doesn't it? So what happens when it, or something like it, becomes real? What does a world actually look like when our companies are more intelligent and more autonomous than we are? That's something to ponder. Thanks for joining us on The Explainer.